For 3 months, I logged every watch I put on my wrist, 105 entries. Some days I wore more than one watch. The watch YouTube told me to buy, the watch I expected to win, neither of those won. And that changed everything. I had no idea what was coming, so stick with me to the end. I guarantee you're gonna want one too. Before I spend real money on a luxury watch, I buy a prototype first. It's a suitable match that matches the icon's architecture, and it becomes a worthy test subject for the experiment. The prototype's only job is to answer one question. Will I actually wear this? So the timeline was about 6 months ago. I started buying affordable homages. At last month, I used that time to test what my likes and dislikes were about the certain watches that I was wearing. Once I had enough watches to make the data meaningful, I started tracking my wrist time. A watch that doesn't get wrist time is a waste of money. And so wrist time is really the only metric that we're looking at here. The data will tell you more about what you would want to wear than any YouTube review ever could. So my journey started with the Omega Speedmaster. I was down in Florida at the Kennedy Space Center, and I went into the Omega exhibit, and I went down the rabbit hole, and it was kind of the YouTube darling. It's the Goldilocks. You know, it's not too big, not too small, not too heavy. It should be in black, and black matches everything. So the only problem was I barely wore that watch. And I think it's a problem with the chronograph. So here's the thing that they never tell you about chronographs is that if you really love a sweeping central second hand like I do, well, the way that they market them, you're gonna get that because that chronograph is just sweeping and it's gorgeous. The only issue is that that hand is only running when you're timing something. The majority of the time you're not timing anything, and that second hand sweep that you're looking for only exists in a small subdial. So the thing I loved about that watch doesn't exist the way that I thought it did. This experiment, we're gonna look at 4 wears and above over the 90-day period. Now, I gotta tell you this one surprised me with the Seiko Alpinist at 5 wears. I had it on a bracelet at first, and then I switched it to a brown band, and it really worked for me and it really clicked. But we'll have a full video coming on that one because it really did earn it. Now the Captain Willard was another surprise at 6 wears because it doesn't look like much. In fact, it kind of looks odd. That cushion case, that small design, but this was one that I had customized and it really matched the aesthetic of the icon. So again, that watch gets kudos, and we're gonna have a full video coming on that one as well. Now, the Omega Vintage Seamaster 300 was 7 wears, but I wanna go to what even the Homage market tells you should have been the winner, and that was the Rolex Submariner. Now, before I tell you why, there's something worth noting about this. It had 7 wears. I combined the date and the no date. I wore the date one more, but it was only by 1 wear, so I don't think that that's conclusive. We'll see what happens over the next 90-day period that we look at this. Another thing is that with summer coming and things are changing, winter, I wore more cuffs, and I don't like to wear a dive watch with cuffs. As I'm wearing more short sleeves, that watch may go up in the rankings. So the winner with 10 wears in the 90-day period that we tested is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. Now, that watch was an amazing point of value and the way that it was customized. And so we're going to talk about it a little bit. When you look at 10 wears of one watch on 105 entries with 46 watches in the collection, it's almost 10% of every single watch that was tracked during the time period. Now, when you consider that watches are still arriving during this time period, I could have reached for any of the 46 other watches on any given day. That number, I think, says a lot. I started to think about, why did I reach for that Royal Oak so many times? And I think it had a lot to do with this. It was the story behind the Royal Oak and my personal story. See, the Royal Oak was designed by Gerald Genta in 1972, and I was born in 1972, so technically that's my birth watch. Let's talk about the 70s. Detroit was going through a great disruption in what was called the gas crisis, okay? And that was the same time where the Swiss watch industry was going through the quartz crisis. In Detroit, we were watching the big three not be so big anymore. And I think they had to lay off like 50% of the Swiss watch industry because of the quartz crisis coming over from Japan. Well, that's where the cars were coming over from Japan. We had Toyotas, we had Hondas, we had Datsuns, which you might know as Nissans. We had all sorts of different cars that were coming over from Japan. You know, we didn't want gas guzzling muscle cars anymore, but that's what we just kept producing. And I think the Swiss watch industry went over too much in the other side, because then they all started producing quartz watches. Oh, you want quartz? Here, we'll give you quartz watches. And I don't think that's what the industry needed, but Gerald Genta, he saw something. He said, you know what? Screw it. And he literally made a watch that was full of screws and looked like a helmet for a diver. And at the same time, it would have been like them saying, hey, you know what? You don't like the 454? Well, we're going to take that 6.2 liters and we're going to boost it to 7.8 liters. And we're going to make it a 12 cylinder. And we're going to do something insane with that, because that's really what he kind of did. He thumbed his nose at the society in general, and he said, and we're going to make them pay for it too. That'd be like charging Cadillac prices for a Chevy. And not only did the story fit for me, but the watch fit too. It has a reputation for wearing kind of large, but on my wrist, I feel like it was exactly the way that Genta had designed it. Not to mention Royal Oak, Michigan. And during that time of the last 90 days, I actually helped a young man buy his very first home in Royal Oak, Michigan. So at the beginning of this video, I told you that there was going to be something that you would want to buy too. Take a look at every watch that has earned 4 or more and tell me what you notice. You should notice something in these watches, and as you look at it, it should kind of become glaringly apparent. Almost every single one of them is a custom prototype. And that was something that the data revealed. I wasn't going out to prove a point with that, but what I naturally reached for were the watches that had my name on them. And secretly inside, even though I knew that no one was going to ask, I was waiting for someone to ask, because I wanted to show them that watch. About half of the prototypes that I order can be customized and they can be shipped to you. It's not like what you're seeing on YouTube when you search custom watches. I'm the only channel that I know of that talks about this. It is not putting a watch together or a do-it-yourself type watch. And I've done those too. In fact, that's how I got into all of this, was I started building my own watches, and I discovered that, wait a minute, that takes a lot of time. If I can just order them and I'll get my name on the dial and on the clasp and on the crown and on the case back, then I'm going to go ahead and start ordering them this way. You send them your design and they build it. It's that simple. Now, psychologically, here's the thing about when you're designing a watch, you're invested in its ownership, and you not reaching for it would be like you not loving your own kid more than someone else's. Now, I get it. A lot of these watches look a lot like the originals. And remember, we're not calling these knockoffs. That's not what we're testing here. We want the watch to be the closest that we can to the icon, but without crossing that line. But when you see the results of your own data, that changes everything completely, because you can make it tell your personal story. But when you're engraving the case back, when you're choosing your own dial, these things create a value that you can't buy anywhere else. And the purpose isn't to replace the icon. I really want to stress that. The purpose is to have the iconic story match your story. And then when you do buy the icon, the story that you assign to the prototype, it transfers with the watch. The guys who went and summited Everest, they were wearing Oyster Perpetuals. They weren't wearing Explorers. But that story transferred, and so will yours. And no shelf in any store sells that. The risk time verdict, 105 data points, 90 days with one clear winner. Now, go do your own test. Pick up these 6 categories and you can test them all affordably. Find out which ones you think you would wear and which colors that you think you would wear in these homages, and then run your own tests. Go find the one that dominates your life, track your risk time, because that data could surprise you, just like it did me. Watch Collection Lab is the only lab that I know that's doing videos like this and trying to help you save money on your next luxury watch purchase. And if this was useful to you, hit subscribe and hit the hype button. Drop in the comments which category you want me to review next. Until next time, thanks for watching.
Watch Collection Lab. Watch Collection Lab. Watch Collection Lab. Watch Collection Lab.